Last year, the United States Navy made a decision that nobody talked about. It retired its last Minesweepers. Every single one. Gone. The ships that spent decades clearing Iranian mines from the Persian Gulf. Decommissioned, sold, scrapped. The official reasoning: outdated technology. The Navy had better options. The mission could be handled differently. 12 months later, Iran started laying mines in the Strait of Hormuz. 20% of the world's oil supply, bottled up. And the one tool specifically engineered to solve that problem no longer exists in the American fleet. We do not celebrate weapons at Navy Beacon. We calculate whether they work. And this calculation has a number attached to it that should concern everyone watching. 15 million barrels per day. That is how much crude production is now stranded in the Persian Gulf. Every single day. Because of mines, the U.S. Navy no longer has the primary tool to clear. The question is not whether Iran is winning this particular equation. The question is how the Navy ended up on the wrong side of it, and what that decision is actually going to cost. Subscribe to Navy Beacon. Because what we are about to show you is not a story about a mistake. It is a story about a system that made the right decision according to every metric it was measuring, and the wrong decision according to the one metric that actually mattered. Let us start with the problem. Not the political problem, the engineering problem. The Strait of Hormuz is 21 nautical miles wide at its narrowest point. But that number is misleading, and we have shown you this geometry before. The actual shipping lane, the corridor where tankers must transit, is roughly 6 nautical miles. 2 lanes inbound, 2 outbound, 2 miles of buffer. That is the entire playable space. Now consider what a naval mine actually does in that space. A pressure-activated mine does not need to hit a ship. It waits. It sits on the seabed or suspended at a fixed depth. And when the pressure wave of a passing hull exceeds its threshold, it detonates. The explosion does not need to sink the ship. It needs to break the keel, flood the engine room, put the vessel dead in the water in the middle of a 6-mile corridor where it becomes a navigational obstruction for every ship behind it. One mine in the right position does not sink a tanker. It closes the lane. Iran understands this math better than anyone. Its mine doctrine was not designed to sink the U.S. Navy. It was designed to raise the cost of transit beyond what insurance companies will cover, and to channel ships into corridors where shore-based missiles and fast boats can finish the job. Here is the scale of the threat. Iran's mine stockpile, according to intelligence estimates, ranges from 2,000 to 6,000 mines. Its delivery system is not a dedicated mine layer the size of a warship. It is small craft, fishing boats, vessels that carry 2 or 3 mines each, that look identical to the thousands of commercial fishing operations already working the Gulf, that can slip out at night and drop a pattern of mines in a shipping lane before satellite imagery can even flag the anomaly. In recent days, according to U.S. intelligence reporting, Iran has already begun. A few dozen mines laid. The sources are clear that this is not the full capability. Iran still retains upward of 80 to 90% of its small mine-laying craft. What has been deployed so far is a signal, a demonstration of intent. And the Pentagon has already described what this turns the strait into: a kill box. That phrase is not casual. A kill box is a defined geographic area where the combination of threats, mines on the surface, missiles from the coast, drones from the air, fast boats from every direction, makes survival calculations, not tactical ones. When senior Navy officials brief the Strait of Hormuz using that language, they are not being dramatic. They are being precise. Now let us look at the tool that was specifically built to answer this problem. The Avenger-class Minesweeper. 14 ships. Built in the 1980s and 1990s around a single engineering principle. Do not be detectable by the mines you are trying to clear. That principle drove every design decision on the ship. Start with the hull. Wood. Not steel, not aluminum, not fiberglass composite. Solid wood. Specifically, oak and Douglas fir, covered in a fiberglass sheathing. The reason is straightforward physics. Magnetic influence mines detect changes in the Earth's magnetic field caused by large ferrous structures. A steel ship creates a magnetic signature. The mine detects the signature and detonates. A wooden hull creates almost no magnetic signature. The mine does not fire. That is not an accident. That is the entire point of the ship. The propulsion system follows the same logic. The Avenger-class uses diesel-electric drive. electric motors powered by diesel generators, rather than direct mechanical drive. Electric motors produce significantly less acoustic noise than conventional propulsion. Acoustic mines listen for specific engine signatures. A quieter ship is a harder target. The ship also mounts degaussing cables, electromagnetic coils running through the hull that actively cancel out whatever residual magnetic field the wooden structure and equipment still produce. The combination of wood, electric drive, and degaussing gives the Avenger-class the lowest magnetic and acoustic signature of any surface combatant in the U.S. fleet. And then there is the minesweeping equipment itself. The Avenger carries the AN/SQQ-32 mine hunting sonar, a system specifically designed to detect, classify, and localize mines on the seabed or in the water column. It does not sweep blind. It maps. It builds a picture of where every mine is before it sends anything into the water to deal with them. The ship also carries 2 remote-operated vehicles, underwater drones that can approach a located mine, place a shaped charge, and detonate it from a safe distance. 14 ships, built specifically for this mission, operating in the Persian Gulf for decades. And last year, the U.S. Navy retired the last of them. Type Avenger in the comments if you already see where this equation is going. The official justification deserves to be examined carefully, because it was not wrong. It was just incomplete. The Navy's argument was this: the Avenger-class was old. The hulls were showing their age. Maintenance costs were rising. The ships were slow. A maximum speed of 14 knots made them tactically vulnerable in a contested environment. And the mine countermeasure mission could be transferred to the littoral combat ship platform, which carries a modular mine countermeasure package, and to the MH-60S Seahawk helicopter, which can tow a variety of sweep and detection systems. Every single one of those statements is accurate. The Avengers were old. Maintenance was expensive. 14 knots is not survivable in a modern threat environment. The LCS and the MH-60S do have mine countermeasure capabilities. Here is the equation the justification did not complete. The MH-60S helicopter, towing an airborne mine neutralization system, can clear approximately 1 nautical mile of lane per hour under favorable conditions. The Strait of Hormuz shipping lane is 6 nautical miles wide and roughly 30 nautical miles long through the contested zone. That is 180 square nautical miles of water that needs to be cleared before a single tanker can transit with reasonable confidence. At 1 nautical mile per hour per helicopter, with optimal conditions and no Iranian interference, clearing that lane takes weeks, not days, weeks. And here is the variable the planning documents did not adequately weight. You cannot conduct mine countermeasure operations under fire. The MH-60S, towing its sweep gear at low altitude and low speed over a 6-mile corridor surrounded by Iranian coastal missile batteries, drone launch sites, and fast attack craft, is not a survivable platform. It requires air cover. It requires surface escort. It requires suppression of Iranian shore-based threats before it can even begin the mission it was built for, which requires defeating the same threat environment that the mines were laid to create in the first place. The Avenger-class, for all its age and its 14-knot maximum speed, had one attribute the replacement platforms do not replicate. It could operate in the mine threat environment itself. It was built for the water the mines were in. The MH-60S was built for the water after the mines are gone. There is a difference between a tool that clears the threat and a tool that operates once the threat has been cleared. The Navy retired the former and kept the latter, and Iran laid its mines in the window between the retirement and whatever replaces it. We showed you in a previous video why the U.S. Navy struck everything on Karg Island except the oil infrastructure. The reasoning was the same kind of systems analysis. What you destroy and what you preserve tells you more about strategic intent than the strikes themselves. This Minesweeper decision follows the same logic. What you retire tells you what you thought the future would look like. The Navy thought it would not need dedicated mine hunters in the Persian Gulf. Iran disagreed. Now let us look at what the actual operation to reopen the strait is going to require. Because the planning documents that have emerged from Pentagon briefings paint a picture that is more complicated than any headline has captured. Phase 1 is suppression. Before a single minesweeper or helicopter can enter the strait, the shore-based threat environment has to be degraded to a level where survival is calculable. That means continued strikes on Iranian coastal radar installations, missile battery positions, and drone launch sites. It means F-35B sorties from Boxer hunting the mobile launcher systems that relocate after every strike. It means Aegis destroyers maintaining the air defense bubble that keeps the minesweeping helicopters from being shot down before they reach the water. Phase 1, according to military analysts, is measured in weeks. Not because the strikes are not effective, because Iran's mobile systems are exactly what the name suggests: mobile. They move, they disperse, they hide in the terrain features that the geography of the Iranian coastline was designed by nature to provide. Phase 2 is the clearance operation itself. And here is where the retirement of the Avengers becomes the critical variable in the equation. Without dedicated minesweepers, the clearance mission falls to the LCS mine countermeasure package and the MH-60S. The LCS package includes the AN/AQS-20A sonar system, which is towed behind a remote vehicle rather than the ship itself, keeping the LCS hull out of the mine threat zone. It is capable technology, but it was designed for deliberate, methodical clearance operations in low-threat environments, not for rapid lane clearance under wartime conditions in a 6-mile corridor while Iranian fast boats probe the perimeter. The rate of clearance under these conditions, according to analysts who spoke to major defense publications, is significantly slower than peacetime estimates. The working assumption in Pentagon planning documents that have been referenced in congressional testimony is that full clearance of the Hormuz shipping lanes, to a confidence level sufficient to begin escorted transit, will take between 3 and 8 weeks from the start of focused clearance operations. 3 to 8 weeks, at 15 million barrels per day stranded, at oil prices that have already exceeded $100 per barrel and peaked near 126, at a rate of economic disruption that the International Energy Agency has described as the largest supply shock since the 1970s energy crisis. Run that math. 30 days at 15 million barrels, 45 days, 60 days. The number gets large very quickly. And here is the detail that makes this extraordinary. The one that connects the retirement decision to the current crisis in a way that no after-action report is going to capture cleanly. The Avenger-class decommissioning was not a secret. It was publicly announced. It was debated in congressional hearings. The Navy's mine countermeasure capability gap was documented in the Congressional Research Service's analysis of fleet composition as recently as 2024. The transition plan, from dedicated minesweepers to LCS-based and helicopter-based systems, was published in official Navy force structure assessments. Iran reads those documents. Iran has a signals intelligence apparatus, a defense analysis community, and access to every publicly available document the U.S. government produces about its own fleet. The Iranian Naval War College, its equivalent institution, studies American force structure the way American planners study Iranian order of battle. The retirement of the Avengers was not a surprise to Tehran. It was a variable in their planning, which means the mines currently in the Strait of Hormuz were not placed in response to the retirement. They were placed in the window that the retirement created. There is a difference. One is reactive, the other is prepared. And that preparation is what Pentagon analysts are calling the strategic miscalculation at the center of this crisis. Not that Iran was willing to mine the strait, that was always the assessed intent. But that the capability gap between what the U.S. Navy retired and what replaced it gave Iran a window of reduced American mine countermeasure effectiveness that coincided almost exactly with the conflict. The question that is now being asked in congressional intelligence briefings, and that will almost certainly define the next decade of naval mine countermeasure investment, is whether that coincidence was predictable. The analysis is not finished, but the early indicators suggest the answer is yes, and that someone in the force structure planning process did not weight the timing correctly. This is what a planning failure looks like in real time. Not a dramatic mistake, not a ship sunk or a battle lost. A document signed in an office, a ship decommissioned in a ceremony, a gap opened in a capability matrix, and 12 months later, an adversary fills that gap with 2,000 to 6,000 mines, and a doctrine built around exploiting exactly the window that was created. The Navy is not without options. The multinational coalition that is forming around the escort mission includes partners with mine countermeasure capabilities of their own. The Royal Navy's Hunt-class and Sandown-class mine countermeasure vessels have wooden and glass-reinforced plastic hulls and are specifically designed for this mission. France is sending frigates as part of Operation Aspides. Several European navies maintain dedicated mine countermeasure squadrons that have not retired their purpose-built platforms. The irony is that the coalition the U.S. is assembling to reopen Hormuz will likely depend on Allied mine countermeasure capabilities to compensate for the gap left by the American retirement. The most powerful navy in human history, in this specific capability domain, will be relying on smaller Allied fleets to perform the mission it used to perform itself. That is not a failure of American naval power overall. The U.S. Navy's ability to project force, conduct air operations, maintain logistics chains, and sustain a carrier strike group presence is unmatched. But mine countermeasure is a specialized capability. It requires specific platforms, and the decision to retire those platforms before the replacement capability was fully validated, before the MH-60S mine countermeasure package had been operationally proven at scale, before the LCS mine countermeasure module had demonstrated wartime reliability, created the gap that Iran is now operating inside. The lesson is not that the Avengers should have been kept forever. 14-knot wooden ships in a modern threat environment have real limitations. The lesson is what it always is in logistics and force structure. The gap between what you retire and what replaces it is not a planning abstraction. It is a physical window that an adversary can walk through. Britain learned a version of this in 1982. The decision to reduce the surface fleet in the years before the Falklands created capability gaps that very nearly cost them the campaign. The ships that were not there could not be conjured from doctrine. The capabilities that had been retired could not be rebuilt in time. The United States is learning a version of the same equation in 2026. Different platform, different theater, same principle. We do not worship the machine at Navy Beacon. We worship the equation. And the equation here is not complicated. The Strait of Hormuz contains mines. The tool built to clear those mines no longer exists in the American fleet. The tools that replaced it are capable but slower and more vulnerable in the threat environment those mines were designed to create. Every day that equation holds, 15 million barrels stays stranded. Insurance rates stay stratospheric, oil prices stay elevated, and the global economy continues to absorb a shock that the International Energy Agency is already comparing to 1973. The question that nobody in the defense acquisition system wants to answer out loud is this. If someone in the force structure planning process had run this specific scenario, Iran mines Hormuz in 2026, 1 year after the Avengers retire, would the decommissioning timeline have changed? The answer to that question will determine whether this is classified as a planning failure, a risk acceptance decision, or something else entirely. The investigation has not concluded. The after-action reports have not been written. The congressional hearings have not been scheduled, but the mines are already in the water, and the ships that were built to clear them are gone. Stay vigilant, stay informed. That is the equation nobody else is showing you, and it is the one that matters most right now.